So, thank you very much for coming here and being willing to share not only your technological talent on this one, but also your willingness to share your experience. That's really generous of you. And because one of the big focuses here is PTSD, I was hoping you could start off a little bit with talking about your history, just in terms of how PTSD came into your life.
Well, it came into my life because I was really battered and abused as a kid, and so I didn't get good therapy as a kid.
Okay. When you mention therapy, my understanding is actually you've been through at least one, if not two different kinds of therapy as you got older. And maybe if you can talk about those a little bit in terms of how did they help, how did they not help so much, that would be a good thing.
Well, I actually have three kinds of therapy.
Okay, I stand corrected.
When I was 14, I went to Western State Hospital, and they were very into behavior modification. And my problem was that I was cutting myself, and behavioral modification says I should be punished for doing something they don't want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't work as a treatment mode for me because I couldn't stop myself from cutting myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older, I was in talk therapy for about 17 years, and I would tell stories of what happened to me, and I would write down those stories between sessions, and it didn't enable me to heal from those stories. The trauma kept on reasserting itself in my life.
Okay.
And then I I tried EMDR therapy, and that with that particular therapist, it involved putting my stories into a container that was really secure and would hold anything in between therapy sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And the container was never strong enough. I still had symptoms between therapy sessions, and I didn't get through it.
Okay. So one of the symptoms you described before was cutting, and when you came to see me, that certainly was still going on. And maybe if you could talk a little bit about why cutting seemed to be so resistant to stopping.
Well, I got part of the reason it was so difficult to stop was that when I would cut myself, I would feel a chemical release inside that made me feel better right away.
Mm-hmm.
And that the other reason that cutting was so compelling was that when I was a kid, when blood was drawn, that was the end of the drama for that experience. And so when I would cut myself, there would be blood, and okay, I would be in recovery mode.
Okay, so back then blood meant essentially the abuse would stop.
Right.
Okay. So then you came along here, and we were trying what I was calling, what I didn't tell you, this is heart-centered time travel, but nonetheless we were here and trying to use that model in our work together. And I guess I'm interested in you talking about what you found different about that, I guess as a starting point.
Well, I found it different because you used the word love, and nobody had used that in a therapeutic setting with me before. And what I found was that I could soothe myself by getting in touch with my loving feelings without having to be with a therapist or with someone who was taking care of me.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you and I worked out my self-soothing was, are we at that point now?
Yes, you can talk about specific ways that you've worked out self-soothing.
I'll cut that part out.
Okay.
The way I worked out self-soothing with you was that I would look at pictures or videos of my daughter when she was little in the morning, first thing in the morning, and the last thing at night before I went to bed. And that made me feel the love that I had for my daughter and the love I had inside of me. And it was just a way to make me feel good. And then at other times when I would be really distressed, I would look at pictures and feel that love I had and keep looking at pictures or video until the distress diminished.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about how the work that you're describing has impacted your life now? What changes have you noticed as a result?
Well, I've been able to stop cutting myself, and it's been 6 months now, and I've been able to re-engage with my partner so that we could have a loving relationship once again and not separate because I couldn't be in touch with my feelings, or my feelings were so dangerous that it was frightening.
Okay, then I'm understanding that. And at the same time, when you first came to me, were carrying around a fair degree of depression. And I'm curious if you could talk about that. How has your mood been?
Well, my mood has been much more at ease. You know, I've kind of left the depression behind. People say that I look better, I feel better, and I smile easier. And so it's really been a big deal. And I don't have nightmares the way that I used to have nightmares. I have dreams that are actually kind of pleasant.
Okay, that's great. Is there anything else that you can think of that you'd like to add about either the kind of work that we've been doing or a result of the work that we've been doing that we haven't talked about so far?
I don't think so.
That's been pretty comprehensive. Okay, so that's my cue to ask you if you are willing to be a narrator, because part of the work that you did was in fact writing about experiences. If you were, say, sitting powerful with love and then there was some time travel to write about that, and you surprised me by writing a story when that took place in a parking lot. So I'd like to conclude our interview with you doing a reading of this.
Okay. I left Steve's. I listened to my daughter sing to me on my iPhone with cat-like tread over and over. I went grocery shopping. A man asked me for 75 cents. I only had 50 cents, so I didn't give it to him. Then I thought differently and went back, but he was gone. A missed opportunity to maybe do good. Who knows? When I was done shopping, I pulled my cart out to the parking lot. The clouds were dark, but there was a straight white line in the western horizon where they stopped. It was beautiful, beautiful enough to make me think of love. So I stood there and watched it and felt love. Suddenly, I remembered the little girl scared under the blanket. Steve had said I could get under the blanket with her. So I pictured the sky as the blanket and the clear spot as the top of the blanket. I felt her and me under the huge blanket covering the sky and watched the thin lip of the opening. I felt love. I was with her. I sent love to her, and I felt engagement. I stood quietly with my filled cart of groceries in the parking lot, feeling love and looking at the giant blanket covering us both. It was immense, and I felt the immensity and the safety. It was hard to stop, load up the car, and drive away. However, the vision is still in my heart with cat-like tread.
That's great. Thank you.
Sure.
All right.
We're done?
We're done.
Okay.